What's going on? All right. Tonight, we're going to start building a lab. I need to choose a hypervisor. So, what are my options here? We can go with VirtualBox. So let's look at VirtualBox here. VirtualBox is really kind of the, like, at least to me, like the OG of hypervisors, right? This was the first one I started using back around Windows 98. And I don't really use it so much anymore. I use it more, or I use Microsoft's Hyper-V more now. But if you don't have the right edition of Windows, you can't use Hyper-V to build your lab. So you're stuck with an option like VirtualBox, VMware, and we're going to give VirtualBox a spin here real quick. So you can download it for Windows, for Mac, Linux, Solaris. Of course, I'm using Windows, so we're just going to go ahead and download the one for Windows. Run the installer. And we need the Microsoft Visual C++ 2019 redistributable package. Of course we do. Why wouldn't? All right. That's not how you spell Microsoft at all. Neither is that. All right, let's complete that. Go to the redistributable. The latest supportable is C++ distributor. All right. x64. Download that. So we'll run this first. Yes, we agreed to the license terms. Click install. Yes, let it make changes. And job done. All right, now back to VirtualBox. Okay, please check. Okay, well, yeah, fail error, blah, blah, blah. All right, so we can run it from here. Just click open file again. Yes, to make it, let it make changes. Can minimize this guy. All right, setup wizard will install. Okay, go ahead, next. Go ahead and accept the terms of the licensing agreement. Click next. I'm going to leave the default options here. I don't really think I need Python support right at the moment, but we're just going to leave it. I'm going to leave the location and program files. Go ahead, click next. Installing the Oracle networking feature will reset your network connection, temporarily disconnect you from the network. No, but we have to do it. Well, we don't have to. We're not going to install it, but we're going to install it. So we'll click yes. Missing dependencies, installing Python bindings, requiring Python core package. When continuing the installation of VirtualBox bindings now, those need to be set up manually later. Proceed with the installation. Yeah. I don't understand why you have something set as a default option. Like we're going to go ahead and install it, but you have dependencies. Maybe check the dependencies, but whatever. Choose from the option below. Start menu entries. Yes. Shortcut button on desktop. Yeah. Shortcut on the quick lock launch. Fine. Register file issues. Okay. All of these defaults are really fine. I'm not a huge fan of adding another desktop icon. I would probably put it on the launch bar anyway, because it will go down here. But so we're just going to leave that. We'll click next. I can always get rid of the desktop icon later if I don't like it, right? Go ahead and click install. Wait for the magic to happen. And there we go. Go ahead and start it. All right. Ta-da! We have VirtualBox. So now what do we do with it? What do we got? I mean, we got tools. Well, don't pin it. What happens if we click tools? We got welcome, extensions, cloud, activities. Not anything for spinning up a VM, really, I don't think. Preferences, default machine folder. Okay, so here I am actually going to change the default machine folder. I don't want it under users, under the user account that I'm logged in. So I'm going to go to my handy dandy temp folder, create a new folder. We're going to call it VirtualBox VMs. No. Yeah, I'm going to leave it a VirtualBox VMs. I'm going to use that as the default machine folder. Click the caret, other, go C, temp, VirtualBox VMs, click select folder. Okay, update, stable release versions. That's fine. Not overly worried about it. Language default. We're in English, so it's fine. You can obviously choose whatever works for you. If you're practicing a new language, you can always, you know, see what Windows looks like, or at least what VirtualBox looks like with that language. It's an option. Display, scale factor, all monitors, 100%, font scaling. Okay, for now, I'm going to leave that alone. I'm really not going to mess with any of the expert stuff here. We don't need the proxy settings. Color theme is fine. Other than that, I mean, what do we really got? We got input for virtual machines, VirtualBox Manager. Yeah, no. We're going to go back to basic. Just click OK. Okay, we can import a virtual machine, which we don't have one, so that's not going to work. And export one, but again, we have no virtual machine. Can't do that. We can create new. We can add. Okay, so we're looking at adding another VirtualBox, like another virtual machine. Okay, that's not going to work. New, which is probably what we're going to do. I mean, obviously. But let's take a look. We got file, preferences, import, tools where we were at. Well, we didn't really mess with it. Check for updates, set our warnings. Quit, machine, new, add, help. Not too worried about all that. So I have a problem. I can create a virtual machine, but I have no operating system to install on it yet, because I haven't downloaded an ISO. I haven't downloaded an operating system at all. So I should probably fix that. So let's go back to our browser, close these extra tabs, don't need them. And Microsoft, Windows Server 2012. And there's a reason I'm going with 2012. I know it's no longer supported, which is why I'm doing it. So that later I can go through the migration of almost any flavor of Microsoft Server, be it 2012 to 2021, 2016 to 2021, 2019, 2021, 2012 to 2016, any of those. But the migration path is really pretty much the same. So we're going to start off with 2012 R2 and then look at migrating later once we have our initial network set up. So go to the evaluation center, ISO downloads. Okay, now you can download virtual hard drive. You know, let's do that. That's going to take a bit. That's 7.5 gig. So I'm also going to download the ISO. And I'm just going to let those finish. So in the meantime, I can go do some folder work here. First, I don't like this view so much. I prefer a tiles view. I need to create a couple more folders here, at least one, which is called ISOs, because we may have something other than Windows, right? I may have an ISO for Ubuntu, Linux, whatever. So we can go in here and I'll create another new folder. This one I'm going to actually name for Microsoft. Go into it, create another new folder, and we're going to go with Server 2012. I should probably also create a new folder for VHDs. I'm not going to go into like Windows or different flavors of Windows. Actually, you know what? I lied. So we're going to go here. We're going to go to Server 2012 R2. Now, if you're looking to create, say, a bunch of folders and you don't want to like right click, go new folder and everything else, we can use PowerShell for this. And in Windows 11, all we need to do is just open up the terminal once everything catches up. Okay, I'm actually going to pin this to the task bar for one. And then going to open it. I'm not going to necessarily worry so much about running as administrator right at the moment. I may, depending on what I'm doing. But so at this point, we're still waiting for a few things. PowerShell wants to be updated. So let's look at winget, upgrade all. All right, so what did I just do? So we're using winget, which is Microsoft's installer. We're doing an upgrade. The H is for silent, so we don't get all the pop-ups. And of course, the all is do all the packages that need updated. We just do it all in one shot. Off you go. We still got a little bit to go on our VHD download as well. So while we're waiting, I'll move that there so I can keep an eye on it. Okay. Silent. Well, no, silent's not going to do this because this is user account control. So it needs administrative privileges for that. I'm going to open a new tab here in Explorer. I'm going to go to downloads and drag this over just to make sure that I've got my ISO here. Right click on it and cut it. Come over, go into my ISOs folder. I need to change this view from the default details to tiles. Now, I don't use tiles for every folder. It really kind of depends on the contents of the folder. But in general, I will use tiles because I don't necessarily need to see the timestamp and some other details that would be present, right? So I'm just going to go ahead and paste this ISO there. Again, I'm going to change this view to tiles. Yes, I can change them en masse, but I'm not really concerned about doing that right now. All right, now that we have the ISO, what else do we have here? Our virtual hard drive is downloaded, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that. Again, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to come back over to my other tab where I've got all of my other folders. Go into my temp folder, go into VHDs, change this to tiles. Go into it, change the view to tiles again. Right click and paste. Okay, so this is a virtual hard disk file. And then I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to look at the properties because I'm curious if this is, nope, it's just a .vhd file. Okay, so it's not a VHDX file, which is fine. How's Wingate going? Wingate's got everything installed. What did we do? Dev home, Windows app runtime. And those were the only packages that it found. Awesome. All right. So Wingate list. All right. Should be Microsoft, OneDrive, Edge, blah, blah, blah. .NET. Windows runtime. All right. So Wingate install Microsoft PowerShell. Gonna go ahead and change this. Go yes. So PowerShell is already installed. It's already part of Windows, right? But it doesn't count as a Wingate package until you actually install 7.5, right? Because what version were we on? Definitely not 7.5. Copyright, blah, blah, blah. All right, let's open a new tab. What does this tell us? Still doesn't tell us. All right. Get. When in doubt, PowerShell get version. All right. PS version table. Okay. There we go. Okay, so we're on 5 comes with Windows 11. We're going to 7.5. 5 does not count as not a Wingate package, so we haven't installed it yet, which is why we have to go to Wingate, install PowerShell 7.5 instead of trying to upgrade it. But upgrading the rest of it really isn't the worst of ideas. Let's go ahead and clear that. And we're going to close this tab. I'm going to open a new tab that also seems to think that it's on the wrong version of PowerShell. Fine. All right, let's exit, relaunch, see if we're on Windows 7 or PowerShell 7.5 at that point. No. Okay. This is an easy enough fix, really. Okay, so we've got Windows PowerShell, and then we've got PowerShell here. This is actually 7.5. So if I click this, we open a new tab, it's a 7.5. What I need, or what I want, is I want terminal to go to 7.5 by default. So if I click the down chevron again, click on settings, right here, default profile. This is the profile that opens when you click the plus icon or typing a new tab key binding. Okay, so we're still on PowerShell 5. Click the drop down chevron, go to PowerShell 7, save our changes, close the settings, close this, open a new tab, and ta-da, we're at 7.5. Just to make sure, go ahead, exit. All right, come back, relaunch our terminal, and 7.5. Yay! Later, I will get into customizing the terminal, like going through all the settings. If you want to change the font color, that sort of thing. that's a whole other rabbit hole. Right now, I'm just looking to get a basic VM set up and go through how to do that on VirtualBox, right? Okay, so we have our ISO, we have a virtual hard drive. So first, I'm going to create a new virtual machine using the virtual hard drive that I downloaded. So click on New, virtual machine name and operating system. Just call it server 1 for now. Okay, the folder is going to be C temp VirtualBox VMs. Fine. Now this wants an ISO image. So actually, if we want to use the virtual hard drive, well, no, that's not going to work. Okay, let's go back to new. Command name, server.01, leave that, leave all of these things. It's going to be Microsoft Windows. Type's going to be Microsoft Windows. The edition and the ISO I'm leaving blank. I'm going to leave the version. Actually, I'm going to update the version to the right one. How do we have all of the versions of Microsoft Server, but not 2012? Yeah, 2019, 2016, 2008, 03, no 2012. All right. Well, oh, there it is. Duh, I can't read. Okay. The guest OS will need to be installed manually. All right, that's fine. So there's a checkbox here for skip unattended installation. Or unattended, not unintended, unattended installation. Obviously, I don't need that because there's no ISO image. So with these settings, I'm just going to go next. Base memory, 2 gigs, fine. Let's go with 2 processors. Create a virtual hard disk? No, we're going to use an existing virtual hard disk file. All right. Drop down. Nope. So we come over here. We need to add one. So click add. Go to temp. Go to VHDs, server 2012. Okay, there we go. Choose. Okay, the last option is do not add a virtual hard disk. Not worried about that because obviously I want one. So in summary, we're creating a virtual machine named server 01. We're storing the machine folder in C temp VirtualBox VMs in a new folder called server-01. No ISO image is selected. Guest OS type is server 2012. 2 gigs worth of RAM. 2 processors. EFI table is set to false. And the attached disk is in C temp VHDs server 2012 R2 9600 blah blah blah. Okay, go ahead and finish. Let's minimize the browser again. And VirtualBox closes. No. All right, let's reopen VirtualBox. Okay, so now we have server 01 powered off. We can look at all of the current options that are set. So it's got 128 megabytes worth of video memory, VBox SVGA, remote desktop servers disabled, recordings disabled. These are all fine. Right now, I just kind of want to spin it up. I want to take a look. We have one network adapter, which is using NAT. So what this is doing is it's using the host Ethernet. I really don't like that. All right. So open the control panel and go to network and internet. So we can actually get the one that I want. Okay, go to network sharing. Okay, so here we go to change adapter settings. Okay. So what we're doing is we're using the host internet connection, but it's using that as the public IP address. So it's handling the virtual switch in the background. All of this traffic will flow through and out using the host's network connection. So see, we can start it here. We can do a normal start, headless start, detachable start. If we right click on it, we have some settings. We can change settings. We also have the settings up here. Everything we have at the top, we should also have in the right click menu. Right, settings, clone. Oh, we don't have clone. So we have settings, move, remove, move to group. Don't have any group set up right now. Start, show an explorer, create shortcut desktop, sort, search. No. So we can start it a couple of ways. I'm just going to go for a normal start right now. Okay, powering up VM. Yay. Auto capture the keyboard. All right. We wait. And we wait some more. I actually don't recall downloading a virtual hard drive previously. I'm sure I've done it. It's just been a while since I've done such a thing, and I don't remember it. All right, so we're going through our installation. Basically, our out-of-box experience. First time you'd spin up like a new desktop or laptop out of the box. The first time that you load Microsoft Server after freshly installing it. We're just skipping that part of the installation, right? So it's a good option to go ahead and for us to get a server up, right? Because we just slap an OS drive on it, you know, and we're done. You don't have to go through all the manual installation steps, wait for it to copy files and do the things. I mean, obviously you gotta wait for it to do the first load. And then when you're presented here, okay, this needs to go. I don't really need that blocking the screen right now. So we click next. Okay, this is obviously all the licensing terms. Yes, go ahead and accept. Now we need a local administrator password. So the username here, administrator, is for the local machine. This is important to remember later when you have various servers and things like an Active Directory domain, because there is an administrator username in Active Directory that is not the same account. But obviously we'll cover that at a later time. Right now, again, just really looking at just having this, get this spun up. I kind of want to go through this and take a quick look. It should really just be a standard, just like I did a basic install, right? All right. Go ahead and let it do the thing. Now, the virtual hard drive that we downloaded should also, yep, it gives us the desktop experience. So if you download the VHD from the evaluation center, you're going to get the GUI. If you're looking for just the core version of Server 2012, you're going to have to do the install from the ISO. And that's also one of the things that I'm going to do later. Right now, I just, like I said, I just want to get started on getting a machine up so that I start building the lab, right? Another thing to note is when you see this blue pop up, you're going to see it on every version of Microsoft Server, also with Windows 10 and 11. In server, this is particularly important when it asks, do you want to find PCs, devices, content on this network and automatically connect devices like printers and TVs? You want to click yes here. Because if you don't, then it's going to change the network profile. I'm going to cover that in just a second. Right now, what I want to do is I want to make the resolution on this a little bigger. So I do want landscape. Let's go ahead and, as much as I don't like the 1280 by 1024, I'm going to use it for now. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. We'll keep that. 1600 by 1200 might run me out of screen space, but we'll give it a shot. Actually, no, didn't. Can I try? I can, but it doesn't dynamically resize. All right. Okay, so we've got it. The display options aren't great, but it'll work for now. What we want to do, or what I want to do right now, is I want to show you. So we've got a network sharing center, and you can see right here under network, it says private network. All right, that's because I clicked yes. If I do not click yes, it changes this to public. This changes the way that the server will respond to things like pings and other network connectivity. So you really want this on private, which is why you click yes there. If you click no, it's not the end of the world. You do have to change the network profile, but we're going to cover that anyway because I'm going to wind up breaking it later in a different install. So there you go. We have our first server. It's a whole 40 gigs on the hard drive. Not the end of the world here. I mean, for right now, what the server is doing, that's fine. And for an operating system drive, that's plenty, right? We're not even close to filling this up. If we look at the bar, we have 31 gig out of 39 gig free. So there you go. Let's go ahead and create another one, but this time I'm going to go through the ISO, right? So we're going to go new, call this server 02. Still going to keep it in the same folder because what it's doing here is it's creating a folder for each virtual machine, right? So we've got server 01, and if we look in here, we see the logs, we see the VirtualBox, definition, we see the VirtualBox machine definition, in the VBox preview file. Okay, we don't see the actual virtual hard drive because we had one created, which is sitting, actually, let's go ahead and put it in another tab. I really hate it when people flip back and forth. Okay, so we got temp virtual hard drive server 2012, and we're using this for the virtual machine here. We're not going to do that. Oops, old habits die hard, I guess. Okay, so if we go back into temp, we go into ISOs, we go in Microsoft 2012. We're going to use the ISO here. And actually, let's go into VirtualBox VMs. So we have a folder called server 01. And in server 01, we do not have a virtual hard drive file or files, depending on how we configured that. That's to be expected because, again, in a totally different folder is where the virtual hard drive is that we're using. So this time we're going to create a new one. And in the server 02 folder, we should see virtual machine or virtual hard drives get created along with everything else. Okay, so the ISO image, click the drop down chevron over here, go to other, lets us browse. So we go to see temp and ISOs under Microsoft server 2012. We select our server 2012 R2 ISO, click open. All right, this is server 2012 R2 standard edition, server core installation. Okay, so here, server core installation is no GUI. Then we have server 2012 standard edition server with core GUI, or with a GUI, no, sorry. Then we have data center edition, core, and data center evaluation. So if you're wanting to change the install, you can do it here in VirtualBox. Microsoft's install also lets you choose this. Now, the difference between standard and data center. Standard gives you 2 licenses, basically one physical, one virtual. You can do 2 virtual machines on one physical server, but you have to install just Hyper-V. You can't install Microsoft Server. Data center is essentially unlimited licensing. When you buy a data center license, you get all of your activations, Microsoft, but you have to purchase it based on the cores of the servers that you're doing. So you could buy the data center edition for, your server, your physical server, and you can spin up all the VMs you want. You don't run out of licenses. In standard, you would, and you would have to buy more. So today you say, okay, I only need one virtual machine. You buy your standard license, you apply it to the host. You also apply it to the virtual machine. You've used your 2. A month later, 6 months later, you're like, I need another server. I need another virtual machine for whatever. Or I need another virtual server, right? I need a server for SQL. I need a server for mail. I need a server for some application. You go to spin it up, you go to activate it, Microsoft tells you used up all your licensing. Now you have to buy another standard license, which is another, I think like $2,000, give or take. Compared to data center, it's cheaper. But the problem is, how many licenses are you going to have to keep buying? How many times are you going to have to go to like your boss and be like, hey, we need a new Microsoft Server license. We're out. Right? If you just pony up the extra cash data center, unless you are completely committed, like for beyond a fact that you're not going to use any additional licenses later, you're just going to save money in the long run if you just pony up for the data center edition, save yourself the headache, and just do it. Right? But for now, we're going to do standard edition with GUI. Microsoft Windows. We cannot change any of these, which is fine. Okay, so skip unattended installation is unchecked, but it's an option. When checked, the unattended install is disabled and the selected ISO is mounted on the VM. Okay, so if I do not check this, then it should just go ahead and install the edition that's here. This is also where with VirtualBox, you got to be very careful. Because if we just left it at the server core, right? And as a matter of fact, I'm going to do that. I'm going to leave it as server core the way it was. You know what? I'm just going to start all over again. We're going to go back to new. I'm going to call this server 02. I'm going to change the ISO image to this. Okay, so right here, the default is the very top one, right? So it's server 2012 R2 standard edition core. All right. I'm not going to check the skip unattended installation. I'm just going to hit next because that's probably what you would wind up doing, right? If you've never used VirtualBox before, you're just going to be like, hey, I've got it. I will need a VM. It sees my ISO. It already says Windows Server 2012. Cool. And off you go because you're going to be in a hurry. Possibly. All right. Okay. So unattended guest install setup. All right. We got a username. We have password by default. And the username is VBox user. So you're going to have to remember that unless you change it. I'm going to change the password to something that I know. We don't have a product. I'm not going to worry about a product key because I'm not actually using this for like a production server. So it's okay if it goes away. But you know, we have 180 days for the eval. We got 6 months. I'm okay with not having to activate it. Host name, domain name. My guess, VirtualBox. Do I really want a domain name here? Well, it's unhappy if I don't do that. Huh. Okay, so I guess I can type virtualbox.org. It's my guess, virtualbox.org. Okay, we can install in the background. I'm not going to worry about checking that box. Click next. Okay, we're going to leave that. We are going to move the processors to 2. Go ahead, click next. Okay, we can create a virtual hard disk now. Which I don't have one. So I can just create it here. Okay, well, we know that this one is, call it 40 gig. 50 gig should be fine. And let's go ahead and click next. Server 02. Scene folder is fine. ISO image, yes. Guest type, skip unintended. You always at least want to kind of glance over the summary, just to make sure that you didn't set something you didn't mean to or forget. And let's see, username, okay. False, this, that, this size. Okay, all good. Click finish. Let's see what we get. Okay, it's powering up. Yay. Auto capture keyboard. Okay, so this is annoying, but I get why it's there. Delete finish notifications. Yeah, that's finished. Let's go away. So at this point, I just powered on the VM, right? You can see that it's going through the installation of Microsoft Windows on its own, Microsoft Windows Server on its own. It didn't ask me anything yet, and I don't expect it to. I expect it to just go run the install and then come back and say, okay, I'm done. Get rid of this. Setup is starting. Okay. All normal. Whole bunch of command prompt things. So it's most likely answering questions that Windows wanted to fully do the install, and we're at the installing Windows. Yeah, this is definitely not your normal ISO setup. But again, you're all excited. You download a VirtualBox. You're like, I'm going to spin up a VM. Yay, I got Windows. And if you're expecting it to be like walk you through a normal Windows installation, all of a sudden you're like, hey, what happened to all the questions? It just jumped to the thing. Well, it's because it's doing an unattended installation. So it's already got an answer file that it made, and off it goes, right? And right now, I think I'm going to do is I'm also going to shut this down. So let's go to shutdown. Now, personally, I get a little annoyed when it wants to know the reason. It says other unplanned. I went through and clicked start and shut down. This is obviously a planned shutdown, right? Other planned. It's not a big thing, but it is, right? Because if I'm looking through the event logs later and I see that the server was shut down or restarted for an other unplanned, okay, why are we restarting servers without a plan? Unless there's something like a power outage, or, you know, you press for time because there is a power outage, you're running off of battery power and you need to get everything gracefully shut down, right? At that point, yeah, just You want it shut down as quick as possible. Otherwise, though, you start to raise eyebrows, right? Somebody could come to you and be like, okay, why did this just randomly get restarted if it's an unplanned? So, all depending on what environment you got to go through or personal preferences, I usually just change it to other planned. You obviously don't have to. You can go with whatever you want to go with and whatever the environment or procedures for where you are. Let's move that there. Of course, I also cover up my virtual machine, but what are you gonna do? All right. While we're waiting for that, another thing is processors. So how many virtual processors do I have, right? How many cores do I have in this machine? So if we right click on the taskbar and we go to task manager. Okay, so we've got our processes. All right, cool. If we come here, we can go to performance. All right, under CPU, right, we have 10 virtual processors. So if I assign 2 to server 1, that's 2 of my 10. I have 8 left. If I assign 2 to this one, that's another 2. I have 6 left. Now you can over provision and oversubscribe to the virtual processors, and it's not a huge deal. Oversubscribing to RAM is. That will prevent you from starting up virtual machines. So right now we're at 6 of 16. We'd be at 8 if I had the other, if I had server 1 running, but I don't. So that's going to stay nice and steady. Now, if you want to keep an eye on like the performance, like these, all these gauges here, CPU, memory, you can have the task manager open, but you're taking up quite a bit of real estate, right? Because you've got the graph. Maybe you don't want the graph. Maybe you just want it like a small graph floating around, right? You can do widgets. You can do all these other things. Or you can double click anywhere on that pane, right? So under here where it's like CPU, Ethernet, you can double click here. Now you have your nice little widget that you can move off to the side. And keep an eye on the performance on the machine. So you know how much CPU you're using, how much RAM, disk activity. I mean, they're very basic, but if you're looking for bottlenecks or you want to keep it monitored somewhere, especially, you know, if you think that your gaming rig is running slow, right? And you want to make sure that maybe the hardware is not getting in the way. Well, there you go. Keep Task Manager up. You don't have to have the full window, and you can put it somewhere where you can keep an eye on it tucked away in a corner. And it looks like our core installation is in the final legs of its install. Okay. Also, so we've got PowerShell. Is there anything else that I want to install? Can't really think of anything right now. We can go ahead and close this. We don't need it. Network connections. I am going to leave the network connections open for the moment. Move that there. Come back, put this back on top. Okay. And there we go. It logged in using the password, the username and password that we set, and the install is done. So if you got all excited You download a VirtualBox, you're like, you're all excited to spin up your first virtual machine. You go through, you got your ISO, you're like, cool, you do all the things. And if you haven't selected change the version, you wind up with core. Now you're like, well, what happened to Microsoft Server? Nothing. It installed the one that you did, right? Is it sconfig? Oh, I need to click inside of there, don't I? Yeah. So in core, sconfig brings up basically the server configuration. Here we can change things like join it to a domain, change the computer name. But other than that, any other command that you're basically going to run is going to be run in PowerShell, which is fine depending on what your needs are. Most of the time, you're probably going to want the GUI. So if you do the core, this is what you're stuck with. You drop out to the command line, you run in PowerShell and pretty much run a lot of the commands there, but you're not going to be able to bring up the server manager on it and check things like disk usage, disk free space. You're definitely not going to get your Windows Explorer. And again, depending on the usage of the server, this may not be a problem. This may be what you want because you're not wasting resources now on a GUI when you don't need it, right? Those can be used for the application that you're running in the background or whatever. So there's a brief introduction to Windows Server Core. Not what we want, but we're going to go ahead and shut that down. For now, I'm going to go back to this one here. And actually, the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to download the virtual hard drive again because the current one that I have is already tied to a virtual machine, right? So it's already been modified for that machine. And if I want to just spin up another Microsoft server real quick, yes, I can use the same VHD file, but if I go to spin them both up, it's going to cause a problem because now I got two things trying to write and one of them is locked. Actually, I probably wouldn't even be able to boot up two machines. So if I attach it to a different virtual machine, the other virtual machine is going to have to be off. So I'm going to download this just so I have a fresh one I can copy if I want. And while it's doing that, if we look in the VirtualBox VMs, we did indeed get a Server 02 folder, subfolder. And if we go into it, right, and look at the details, we have the VirtualBox machine definition file. Okay, we have the VBox prev file, which I'm going with preview is probably that. And we have a virtual disk image called Server 02. So it created a virtual hard drive, named it Server 02, and put it in the same folder as the server. And we also have the disk image file for the unattended install. You may want to keep the virtual hard drive with the virtual machine files, or you may not. So why don't we go ahead and we're going to, let's spin up a third one. Go to Server 03. All right, we're going to leave the folder here. We're going to use our ISO image. Okay. Now I am going to tick the skip unattended installation. I am going to, okay, I don't need to change from the core here because I'm not doing an unattended install. It's going to prompt me. It's going to make me choose in the Microsoft Server install. Click next, leave it at 2. Of the processors to 2. Okay. Now here, I'm not going to add a virtual hard drive. I'm going to do it manually because I want to store it in a separate location and I don't want it named the same as the virtual machine. Click next, click finish. Okay. You're about to create a new virtual machine without a hard drive. You will not be able to install operating system on a machine until you add one. Yes. In the meantime, you will only be able to start the machine using a virtual optical disk or from the network. Okay, this is all fine. This is what I want. All right. So now if I right click, go into settings, right? There's a storage option, which is fine. What do we got here? We have add controller, add attachment, remove attachment. Now I don't think this is what I want. What do we get if we go to add a controller? Okay, no, I don't really want to. Well, we can do an NVMe, simulate an NVMe drive. Not necessarily what I want there. Okay, if we go here, we can do. All right, so here we can add a hard disk. Click on hard disk. Now it takes us to the hard disk selector where we can create or add, like we can add a disk image like we did with the VHD that we downloaded. We can create a new one, right? So here we can do VirtualBox disk image. So we proprietary to VirtualBox, we can set it as a VHD like the one that we downloaded from Microsoft. And we can do a VMDK, which is a virtual machine disk. Okay, what's the difference there? No. 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 Virtual storage. Okay, so we can look at the manual for VirtualBox, which is good. We can do SCSI, SCSI attached. Okay, here we go. Disk image files. 5.2. Oracle VirtualBox also fully supports the popular open VMDK container format that is used by many other virtualization products such as VMware. So using that format here means that we can take our virtual machine and we can dump it over into VMware if we wanted to swap over to VMware. I'm going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to go ahead and leave it here. Next. Okay, so now it's asking about storage. Okay, so a dynamically allocated hard drive will use only the space on your physical disk as it fills up. Fixed disk will take longer to create, and the reason that a fixed disk takes longer to create is because it has to write zeros to everything on the disk until it fills the size that you set. Right, so we can pre-allocate the full size. We're not going to do that. We're not going to split it into gigabit parts because we're not really worried about like trying to move these VMs at the moment, like the virtual machine, like the virtual hard drive. We're not worried about copying that from, server like physical host A to physical host B. We're not worried about that. So I don't need to split it. And quite honestly, network speeds now are fast enough that this really isn't that big of a concern, depending on how your environment's set up, right? So we'll go ahead and next. Okay, so what do we got? We have the size. I'm going to leave it at 50 gig. Now, right here is the name that it's going to assign to this virtual machine or to this virtual hard drive, which is okay, but I prefer to name them the machine name and then kind of the purpose, right? So this is going to be our operating system disk, which is why I'm calling it server-03.os.vmdk for the actual file extension. I do need to change the location because I do not want to store it under the server 03 folder here. So I do want to store it in the same VirtualBox VMs, but I want to create a virtual hard drive folder for it. So I want to put it here instead of here. So we'll come over here, click the folder, go up one, go to VHDs, click save, make sure it didn't muck with anything like the file name. It did not. Okay, so we'll come back over here, empty, finish, and we have our virtual machine file. and it's server03.os, and it's hidden the extension. Oh, it's not what I wanted. Let's go to options, view, and hide extensions for known file types. We're going to turn that off. There you go. So there you go. We can now choose that. We have now attached it to the virtual machine. And click OK. Now at this point, we can do a normal start. Let it power up. I'm going to go ahead and capture that for the second, even though I didn't need to. Release the mouse. Close that. Now we have to capture the mouse inside the VM until it does mouse integration, which is right here. So we fix that. Okay, so now we have our normal install that we would expect to see. It tells us the version, it has its language, keyboard, time of currency, all of that. So we just click next. The next box we click install now. Let startup do its thing. Okay, so the user guide. Okay, so the user guide here actually also has information on those, creating a hard disk image. Question is, cloning disks. Okay, differencing images. Not where we're at right at the moment. Creating an optical disk, create a virtual hard disk. Okay, so disk image files. All right, so same thing without going through the browser manual. All right, back to setup. So setup, here we've got server core, standard with GUI. Let's go ahead and do that. Click next. Accept the license terms, so tick the box. Click next. Okay, so here you can just click upgrade, install Windows, and keep files and everything else. I've probably done this maybe about 4 times ever in my entire career. I always go to custom. And even though it's basically the same, right? We don't have any options here. We have one drive. It's like you either install it here or you don't install it all, right? Just make sure it's selected, click next. However, if I'm redoing a virtual machine, like, you know, for some reason Windows doesn't want to boot, I have to rebuild it. I can use the same virtual hard disk file, clean up all the partitions and everything from that window, and just do the install that way. And on a physical host, you may have multiple disks there. You may not want to install it on the disk that it calls 0, depending on how RAID options and how the storage is actually configured in the actual appliance. So I always go with custom. And there was the joke for the longest time between, you know, guys that I worked with and everything else, where they were, you know, no real tech actually ever clicks the defaults. You always go to custom. So maybe that has something to do with it too. For a base install, it really doesn't matter though. Most of the time, not always. So while this is going, they're all, and all these virtual machines right now are actually using NAT, which is just like if your network is behind a firewall, right? All of your network, all your outbound traffic is going through the outbound port on the firewall, and it is using the public IP address when it sends that traffic. So in the packet from the source field would be the public IP address. So that the return traffic is sent to the outbound port of the firewall, and then the firewall worries about matching it to the original internal source. We have options for that. I just right now haven't really had a need to adjust it, but we will. But VirtualBox does seem fairly slow. Kind of like molasses. But I'm going to let that complete. And then tomorrow we will pick up. We'll do something actually kind of useful with these. Start going through and building out the domain, getting the servers their roles, clean up a few things. So, yeah, until tomorrow, have a fantabulous night, and we'll see you then.